So I want to jump to one last story before we get to the music and everything, because this one I just found really funny. From Mediaite Plus, AOC hits back at neo-Nazi Nick Fuentes after he praises her claim that Democrats only support Israel out of fear of AIPAC. Okay, well, what actually happened is this is really funny. Nick Fuentes tweeted, okay, we got to start at the beginning. Also, I also don't believe that Nick Fuentes is a neo-Nazi. I believe that they're just attacking him over that. He's an America First anti-Israel personality. I think you can just call him what he is. So AOC tweets, an unspoken secret in Congress is that much of the reflexive, blind, unconditional vote support for nearly any Israeli government action isn't from actual agreement. It's from fear. Reps are terrified of this, of AIPAC, so they don't vote their conscience. They vote their fear. Fuentes says AOC is more America First than 99% of Republicans. You cannot deny Nick Fuentes complimented AOC over her position on Israel. We have even had people who have super chatted to us that they would vote for Joe Biden if Joe Biden came out opposed to Israel. Mm-hmm. That is how many of these people feel when it comes to Israel.
But being called America First is not a compliment for AOC.
She said, you are a white supremacist and I want nothing to do with you nor the world you imagine. I believe in a multiracial democracy, one of economic rights, civil liberties, and that affirms the working class and the rights of women and LGBTQ people. These are not small differences. They're irreconcilable. White supremacy is a scourge and must be disavowed in all places. What's really funny is all Nick said was that she was right.
Right.
And she lost her mind.
Uncalled for response.
She lost her mind over this.
That's because she lost her mind because AOC believes that your supporters are indicative of who you are personally.
Yeah.
So she's not comfortable being supported by someone that, you know, she perceives of in these terms.
Yeah, I'm going to reference Gilmore Girls here, but she says, get off my side. Like,
right,
I don't want you to be the person supporting me because I think that you will make me look less appealing to my own voters, regardless of what the statement is, right? She could have ignored this. She opted to respond because, number one, she thinks dunking on Nick will, I don't know if you can call this a dunk, but like responding to Nick like this will make her seem even more like this wonderful person. She's going to, you know, talk down to this terrible, terrible guy from the internet. You know what I mean? Like, it's so stupid and performative. She could have let it just roll off her. Instead, she is so afraid to be associated with him that she has to respond like in hysterics.
She gave her virtue signal bona fides. But it won't matter because she criticized Israel and she will continue and Fuentes will praise her for doing so. Look, Fuentes has his views and AOC criticizing Israel and AIPAC aligns with what Fuentes, his worldview, and America First individuals, groypers or otherwise, are not afraid of being aligned with AOC. They don't care. AOC is terrified of being aligned with Nick Fuentes, however, because they are tribalists who care more about what their tribe thinks of them than what they actually are concerned with politically.
Well, and this also speaks to what we were talking about before, where it used to be that you could share some views with a person and not others. And now it's like if you don't subscribe to a person's entire program, you don't want anything to do with them. You don't even, you don't even want to share a tweet with them.
She probably reported him to X for harassment. She was like, this is bullying. He has to get away from me. I'm not associated with this. Right. This is probably an emergency meeting for her staff, right? While they all sat there and drafted this. And she was like, we cannot let this stand.
There was like mascara down the face.
This is why there's a lot of people who claim Fuentes is a Fed, which I don't think is true. But it's because the positions that he take to any marketing person would okay, you go to anybody who works in marketing and they're going to be like, well, if you were trying to hurt your cause, do what Nick is doing. Mm-hmm. Coming out and saying this about AOC puts AOC in panic mode.
Right.
If Nick's real plan was to harm the Democratic position, you would do exactly that. The idea of coming out and saying, so like one of the criticisms is that he calls himself America First. That's the name of like his group, his conference. And so what does America First mean? It means America spends money on itself. It doesn't go to foreign wars. It takes care of its own borders before dealing with anyone else around the world. Then Nick Fuentes gets up on stage, figuratively, and he yells independence from Israel. And instantly now the idea of supporting America is now attached to the brand that is just Israel bad. Well, there are a lot of people in America who don't really care all that much about Israel, and they care about America. But what Fuentes does merges the PR campaign. Again, not saying it's intentional, but it's fairly obvious this is detrimental to the efforts of protecting America. This is why AOC is freaking out. It's bad for her to be in alignment with Nick, no matter what Nick does. it's the same is true for the idea of being America first. It is detrimental to that idea being associated with Nick Fuentes. Whether it's his fault or the media's fault or otherwise doesn't matter.